today more applicable is probably the product applications and probably the service installations. So yeah, so I've completed on the service side. So what now I'll do is I'll just go through quickly on how you use the system. Basically, what I'll go through is I'll go through how to do a recording using the KDS application system, basically how you do a lock-in, how you use the different functions on the KDS application system, and what is the different config that we actually has. All right?
Yes.
Okay. So you can still see my screen change, right? So you're seeing 9372 HD capture module and system, right? Okay. So I mentioned I'll just go through these items here, which I've explained. So as a system overview, we actually have three different connections which you can use. So if you are using just with fluoroscopy recording, so with this you need a scan converter. So like I mentioned just now, how you should connect up the scan converter, how to set it up, what's the connection like. So I've covered just now. So just to ensure that if you are only doing fluoroscopy recording, you probably just need the 9372 HD with your monitor and your card, and that's it. And if you are doing FEES with fluoro, you need to add on EPK 3000, your deafener. And if you are going to do an entire stroke procedures plus FEES and fluoroscopy, then you need to add in the additional 9400 and also your 9214 HD, so the camera head, etc. Okay. So there's a list of different applications that you can actually do. So in general, we can actually do media patient management, instant access to archive exams. You can do HD recording, multiple source recording. There's customizable database. So there's actually database that the doctors can pull out from the KDS to compare with their current cases. And data migration, DICOM it doesn't need, network it doesn't need, so you don't need to care about this. And yeah, so we can use for video fluoroscopy. So if the doctors ask you how many frames per second, we can do up to 30 frames per second. Okay. And 7245C, this is actually our old swallowing system. So this is no more already. So this is Discon. Okay. So we can see the video fluoroscopy with the stroke images side by side. So you can do it side by side exam viewing, right? So there's the exam timing display, simultaneous still image and video capture. And as I mentioned earlier on, scan converter. So I've shared the connections with you guys and the settings. And you can do endoscopy for still image capture, image gallery view, DICOM. And for FEES, later I'll show you how to do a 180-degree rotation. All right. So this is one of the advanced features that we have. So, oops, sorry. Okay, so later I'll show you how this is done for the 180-degree rotation. And same thing, you can do a side-by-side exam viewing, exam timing display, frame by frame, and you can do a slow-mo. Slow motion, there's actually a drag bar, which I'll show you later also. So at the recording taskbar right below here, so if you can imagine, there's actually one slider bar which you can play with the speed from 0 to 10 to determine how slow, how fast you want. So later I'll show you on how you can find that. And then for stroboscopy, it's frame by frame. Same thing, you can do a slow motion, side by side exam viewing, frequency and amplitude. I mentioned the stroke data. So if it's not showing, then you have to remember what I've told you just now. The global environment, the stroke data information may not be selected. So you have to check that it's being checked out. Okay. And yeah, frequency, amplitude, image montage. So later I'll teach you guys how to do an image montage. So the beauty of the system is really because we can actually do a cycle to cycle montage. So that the doctors or the physicians or the laryngologists are able to view, to understand whether the glottic cycle or the vocal fold is able to close completely. So there's a lot of technologies out there. So everyone is saying that they have a different thing. But the one thing is they are not able to tell you on exact point that when the glottal cycle can be closed. So they can have like measurement of the glottal gaps, etc. But that will not tell you whether is it closed or not closed. So doctors have to strain their eyes to ensure that whether is it closed or not. So to help the physicians, we come up with this 10 frames montage. So you see an entire closure and opening of the glottis. So if any of the 10 frames, they can see any one of the picture where the vocal fold is closed tightly, which means it's closed. Okay, so that will help a lot in the analysis of the doctor's decision afterwards, right? And of course, we have camera control, I mentioned before. Okay, so for the excuse me, for the basic application operations for 9372 HD, so this is the unit itself. This is the front. I mentioned before, this is the 4 removable driver. XM1, backup 1, XM2, backup 2, and your DVD room. All right. So if you open this up, you can see a bunch of USB here. Right. There's a bunch of USB here. And I'm not too sure why they have these 2 openings here. This is actually your caging for your RAID drive. So they actually doesn't really need to have this, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure why they have this. But anyway, yeah. So when you open up the KDS application software, the front page, you'll see this. Okay, you will see a username and password. So username is strobe, STROBE, and password is strobe as well, STROBE, all in small letters. Okay, so you need to power up, plug the card into the wall outlet, turn on the card, turn on UPS. So once you turn on the UPS, you wait for 20 seconds. This is for the battery to charge up for your UPS before you do a powering on for your 9372 HD, right? So like I mentioned, when you do a login here, username is strobe, and the password is strobe as well, all right? And then and then you launch your KDS. So KDS, so what do I mean by new exam, open exam? So as you see, you should see a new exam and open exam. So just in case if the drive is full or if the .xml file is corrupted, as I mentioned just now, you'll see a blank out screen. You won't see a new exam and open exam. That's where you need to see whether the H drive, is it still there or is it over full? You need to do on the drive management, or if not, when you've done that, it's still the same, it's still not showing up, then which means it could be a corrupted .xml file. So that's where I'll provide you with the CMD file instructions for you to do a rectifications afterwards. All right. And yeah, so new exam workflow, create and the new patients, etc. So once you click on the new exams, it actually comes to this, or you click on the open exam. Sorry, it's actually open exam. Once you do an open exam, you comes to this search patients. So search for existing patient, or you can skip. The thing is, usually for service personnel, in the past, for the old system, what we'll do is we'll just create a test file. So over the years, you'll find a lot of like test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, and the entire system looks a bit messy because there's a lot of testing file. So what we have done this time around with the new system is the service engineers is able to skip this. So you do not need to create any test files anymore. You can just do a skip. So the skip button is here. The bottom right corner, there's actually a skip button here. So you just click on skip, you skip to the next page, okay? Which means you can actually go to the recording workspace altogether. So what I'll go through here. So I'll go through how are you going to do a safe discard, camera selections, record video stills, exam timer, stroke data, and scope files. All right. So to do a save and discard, the buttons are here. Okay, so it's pretty audible. So once you finish a recording, you want to save or you want to discard it. And then camera selection. So as a doctor want to do a HD rigid or a HD flex, so is it a video 3 or video 4? Then they need to select and toggle as needed. Record video and capture stills. So record video, capture stills, and play, right? So there's another way to capture stills. Later I'll show. So you can either do it here or you can do it Control-C. On the keyboard, you do a Control+C. Control+C, you will capture the still as well. Okay, so two ways. Either you press it here or you do a Control+C, or there's one more way whereby you actually capture still by doing the USB foot switch. Okay. And this is the timer and status. So this will show you how long the video is. 24 minutes 15 seconds, and it's paused. And as I mentioned just now, so that's the stroke data. All right, so you'll see the frequency, amplitude, and the stroke mode. So whether is it normal mode or whether it's slow mode. So this is normal mode, and there's one more mode here, which is slow mode. Okay. And there's the scope files. So scope files, you can have the rigid, the fiber, or halogen versus xenon. Okay, so to save the exam, you have 3 options. So you have the save buttons here, you have the playback button, and then there is also one button here, which is done. So how do you activate this fly out menu? What you can do is you have the mouse, you just move it to the right side. Once you move it to the right side, this fly out menu will comes up. So very rarely will the doctors want to pin it, but if you want to pin it, there's one pin icon here. You can do a pinning by clicking on the pinning. All right, so once you pin it, which means this fly out menu will be freeze at this position. But of course, very seldom people will do that. So if it happens, somehow someone actually click on the pin out button and the doctor says, hey, I don't want this. So what can you do about it? So you just unpin it. That's all. All right. And right now I'll go through the basic operations, the playback for the workspace. So what I'll go through is I'll go through the playback functions, timer repeat mode, stroke data, capture still, media tab, gallery view, patient data, and create report. Okay, so once when you open up exam, you'll be able to see this workspace change into the playback functions. Okay, so you can do a play pause. This is play and pause, or you can do a drop frame by frame, which is here. Okay, drop frame by frame, and slow motion. So as I say about the slow motion, if you remember, so there's a slider bar from 0 to 10, which you can play around with the slow mode. All right. Okay. So this is the timer. Okay, so the thing is you can actually repeat in and repeat out. So how can you do that? So once you click on the repeat in, there will be a cursor that you can drag. So you press on repeat in, the cursor, maybe you want it to be 5 minutes, you drag it to 5 minutes, and you repeat out, maybe you want it to be at 20 minutes, then you put it at 20 minutes. Then if you do a play, then the loop will be looping between the repeat in and out, which means they won't play from end to end. They'll only be playing the loops that you are selected. So repeat in, you select at maybe 5 minutes, and repeat out at 20 minutes, and you'll keep looping right here. Is it okay, Emma?
Yes.
Okay. So you just remember. So click on repeat in. There will be a cursor for you to drag to here. It'll show you what's the minute that you put there. So sometimes the doctor doesn't want to see the entire exam. The entire exam can be very long. So there's certain areas that they want to discuss with the patient. So they don't want to like drag here and there, which is very cumbersome. So what they can do is they can do a repeat in and repeat out, and just to loop that area. That's all. Is it okay?
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So like I mentioned, strobe data. I mentioned if there's no recording, you see three dash here. But once you start the recording, you'll see the frequency and you'll see the amplitude, in hertz and dB. That is. And to capture still, there's a few ways. I mentioned there's the capture button. So capture button is just now yeah, this capture button here. Okay. Or you can actually do a R click on the video. So you do a R click, you can also do a capture still. There's also a capture still. So sometimes if the doctors doesn't capture the stills real time, and then after that he's thinking, oh, how can I go back to that point in time to capture a still? He can still do that, but he needs to open the video, the entire video, and then he needs to go to that point and either do a right click to capture still then, or yeah, basically, okay, basically by then you can only do it this way. So what I mentioned just now, this is when you are doing live. When you are doing live, you either do this click here, or you do a Control C, or you step on the USB foot switch. But when you are when probably they already like forgot that they need that picture and they still want it, when everything is done, when the exam is done, they can still do that. They just need to pull out the exams, and then they do a right click and they can do a capture still. All right. So this is the fourth way to do a capturing still. And then of course, the montage, which I mentioned just now. Once you do a right click, you can also do a montage. So to do a montage, right, what you need to do is once you click on montage, this green box will comes out. So what the doctors will need to do is, what they can do is they can drag the green box. If they want this folds to be bigger, they can drag it to the frame that they wish to see before they create a montage. So they can resize, and once they click create here to create a montage, this is the 10 frames that will comes out. So like I mentioned, once you do this, at any point of time, you'll definitely see the closure. Any one frame will show you the closure nicely. So there's no other competition that's able to do this. So we can actually tell people quite confidently that we can really know that whether the vocal folds is being closed tightly in because of the montage, right? So there's competitors telling us that, or telling the customers that they are able to measure the gaps, etc. So, well, good, you can measure the gaps, but can you tell that whether the glottal cycle is being closed properly? So then with these questions, you'll probably win them. Okay, so they are not able to tell you whether the gaps is it being closed properly, and that part they need to let the physician do it by their own, and that's very straining. Sometimes if you do many cases daily, you may skip some cases. So what we are doing here is to have that in review, and then the doctors doesn't need to go back and forth looking at the videos. All right. So this is actually very convenient for them. Okay. Okay. So media tab. So you can view stills and you can print stills, view stills, print stills. All right. So once you click on the viewing stills, you can cycle through the stills, you can delete, you can sync video, etc. All right. So to cycle through the stills, for that exams, depending on how many stills is being captured, so you can see it's 3 out of 6 for this exam. For these exams, which means during these exams, actually 6 stills are being captured, right? So we can cycle it through. Of course, you can go to the gallery view. Okay, once you click on the gallery view, you can see the 6 stills as well, right? Or you can go to the global menu here for the patient data. So you just search by the physicians or by the patients. All right.
Okay.
And then you can create a report. So once that is done, you can create report, and this is the generic report that is being shown. All right. So the doctors, the good thing is the doctors does not need to insert any pictures. So whichever pictures that is inside that exam will be put below as the stills. So this will very much convenient them. So there's no typing needed. So they just need to pull it out, and all the information will be there. So whatever they have done during the case, they don't need to redo it again while doing report. So this effectively will save them a lot of times. So as you can imagine, if you have a system that that is able to do the system thing, but then when you do a reporting, you need to retype all this again. So this can be some additional time saved that you can actually help the doctors. So they don't need to do any retyping again. What they need to do, they just need to click on create report, and everything will be there for them. All right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Samuel.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I want change the convert reports Vietnam with to Vietnam.
Vietnam language. This I need to check. Right now it's only in English. Right now it's only in English. If you want it to be in Vietnam language,
can or not?
Right now, no. But what you can do is you have this report in English, right? So what you can do is there will be some software that you can do a conversion, which means you can't do it on the KDS itself. So what you can do is you propagate these documents into the apps, and then the apps will help you to do a conversion. It's actually doable, but it's not able to do with the KDS. But you can do it with external applications.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
You can send me on the slide.
Can. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can send you all this. Yeah. So far so good, right? So like I mentioned, I'm trying to cover everything end to end. So I'm not just covering on the applications. I cover on the how you're going to do the installation, what are the common errors that you'll be seeing, and how to rectify it. And of course, right now I will continue on with the advanced application. So just now what I've gone through is the basic operations. So there's some advanced applications like I mentioned just now. You can actually do a rotating image, still image in record mode, scope files, configure video inputs, and configure procedure interface. All right. So how do you do a rotation? So sometimes to rotate 180, what the doctors can do, they can move their body, right? But instead of moving their body, right, what you can help them is you can tell them you do not need to change the angulation, etc. What you only need to do is do a Control plus F. Okay, once you do a Control plus F, you'll see that the image will be rotated 180 degrees. All right. And still image record. So like I mentioned just now, Control plus C. Okay, I've repeated it a few times. So Control, you can either use the capturing video, still capture here, and if not, you can do a Control plus C. Control plus C, or you can do the USB foot switch. Okay. So for your scope files, you can select the scope files here. So to do it with a rigid scopes, what you need to do is you need to load a new file, turn on the stroke lamp, do a white balance by pressing on the AWB. So once you do a load, and then you can select the rigid here, and then you do this is basically the auto white balance. AWB means auto white balance. Okay, so give the scope file a name. So you can customize the name. So you may see it is krigid 9106 9400 here. So in fact, if you want to load a new file, you can type it anything. It can be stores, it can be some other things, right? So turn on the halogen lamp, do a white balance, and click save, and that's it. So you'll be able to save these scopes into the scopes file here, right? Okay. So as I mentioned just now, so I'm not going to repeat this. So basically, you can do these settings for the drop down. So these I've covered on my previous slides. So as mentioned, goes to the start and choose K Pentax and choose this K device settings. And all the settings here follow my previous deck. My previous deck has all the settings already, right? Okay. And then you need to configure this. So this is under the KDS options. So you need to configure the HD flex. I mentioned to you just now, this can be configured. If you want it to be flexible, just you can click flexible, you can type rigid, or you can type something else. This can all be configured. And whichever that you have configured here, it will be showing here on your video standard, video capture, and video sync source. So you have the hardware part. Then you have the 9372 KDS communication settings utility to take note. And then this is your KDS application. All right. So once this is set properly, this will follow these settings here. Okay. So okay. Configuration is fine. Yeah. No DICOM. Yeah, you say you don't need DICOM, so I don't push. Okay, so coming to the accessories. So I've already given this list to Emma. So I put it here just to complete it. So 9372 HD, and this is the entire list here. Okay, so for the compatible product list, we still have the 9400, 9215, 9214 HD, and we have the Tall card, short card, isolation transformer, halogen light source. This is the Pentax LED light source. And then there's no more EPK 1000. So it's already discount. So there's 3000, i5000, i7010, EPKI, this is discount also. So basically these two is discount. Okay. I'll probably remove that. So 1000 is discount and EPKI is discount. And for monitor wise, you have the monitor ST. This display monitor is HP monitor, and it's important to know that the resolutions needs to be 1920 by 1200. So the generic monitor is 1920 by 1080. With the 1920 by 1080, you will not see the entire screen. So if you are using that monitor, you'll see cut away. So basically the entire portion here will be cut away. So if you are using 1920, by 1080, you'll not see the KDS taskbar. This KDS taskbar will be entirely gone. So if somehow when you do the setup, everything is good, but then you cannot see this taskbar. If you cannot see this taskbar, likelihood you are using a 1920 by 1080 monitor. So what you need to do, you need to change the monitor to a 1920 by 1200 monitor in order for you to see this taskbar. Okay, because without the taskbar you can't do anything. You can't do any recordings of procedures and stuff. So this is very important. All right. Yeah. So this is for the monitor, and then there's also the foot switch. And here, in fact, for fluoroscopy use, if the site doesn't have a scan converter, you can use this. This is for your scan converter, right? And if somehow you need to use the strobe with the GPS system, then you need this preamp assembly unit. All right. So this is for fluoroscopy. This is for your speech. Okay, so configuration and wiring, basically I've went through a more extensive wiring before that. So I think, yeah, so basically, yeah, that's it.